Hey everybody, how are you doing today? I hope you're doing well. We're going to start our first lesson, Unit 1, Lesson 1. If you look here on the page, there's a little bit of an estimation tool that you can go through and practice. I would suggest going to the web page right here and going through and seeing how you can do. I would first answer some of these questions. How many cheese balls are too few? So you're trying to estimate how many cheese balls would fit on this plate. There's one, and that's kind of what they all look like together. How many is too few? How many are too many? What's your estimate? Explain your reasoning at home. Or you can send me a comment at the bottom on YouTube. Um, then go to that page up here and check it out. Our lesson for today is that I can evaluate expressions. We're talking about expressions. We're going to define a couple terms for the unit, and that should be a pretty quick lesson. Unit 1, Lesson 1. One thing here, you got page 1 and 2. If you put a little notebook together, you have the notes that you can print off at home, or you can keep them in Google Drive and fill them in that way. This should be they're Avid style notes. You should have these are 2 pages that go along with it. So this is page 1 and 2 of that notebook. So let's get in here. Page 1. First thing we have here are a couple, well, obviously some blank terms, and we're going to figure out what they are. Well, this first one here is going to be a variable. And you're going to have to forgive my writing. It's a little hard to do so on a computer a little bit. A variable is a symbol used to represent an unknown quantity, which is an amount. Okay, examples of a variable would be like x, y, d, c. Those are all variables. Things that we try to avoid are variables like z, because depending on how you write it, it might look like a 2. We get avoid a lowercase l, because obviously it looks like a 1. We avoid 5, because sometimes people write 5s and it looks like an s. Or sorry, we avoid s because sometimes it looks like a 5. So you want to avoid s because it looks like a 5. You want to avoid o because 0. And you want to avoid writing your t's like this because that obviously looks like a plus sign. When we write t's, we're going to use a tail that goes along with it, but still we try to avoid it as much as possible. So first term. Second term we're going to talk about is an expression. And that's our whole thing here. We're going to evaluate expressions. Expressions contain variables, numbers, and at least one operation. Operations are plus, minus, multiplication, division. So an example of an expression would be like n plus 2. And you see that's why we avoid z's. Kind of looks like a z, n plus 2. Another one would be something like 3x plus 42. Those are examples of expressions. Next thing we have is called an equation. This is a little bit more than an expression. It contains an equal sign. So for example, instead of just n plus 2, it would be something like n plus 2 equals 10. That's an expression. And the last term we have is a coefficient. A coefficient is a number multiplied directly with a variable. So something like 3x plus 2 contains a coefficient. And in this case, the number 3, which is attached to the variable x, the number 3 is your coefficient. Okay? Hopefully that makes sense. That's part 1 of the video. I'm going to stop it here. I'm going to upload a part 2. You can watch it in chunks.